Would you follow a cabbage-eating pig farmer into war against the Mongol Empire? In 1277, thousands of Bulgarians did exactly that. This man went from swineherd to czar, personally killed the king and ruled the country until it all came crashing down. Today, we're uncovering the insane true story of Ivaylo. Stick around because how he rose is crazy, but how he fell is even crazier. In the winter of 1277, the throne of Bulgaria was empty in every way that mattered. The man who wore the crown could barely walk. Mongol riders crossed the Danube whenever they pleased, burning villages and riding off before anyone could stop them. And in the fields outside a small town in northeastern Bulgaria, a man who had spent his life herding pigs was about to do what an empire's soldiers could not. His name was Ivaylo. Some called him Radish. The Greeks called him Lakhana's cabbage. Within 2 years they would call him Tsar. This is the story of the only peasant in medieval European history to fight his way onto a throne, and how he lost it just as fast. To understand Ivaylo, you have to understand how far Bulgaria had fallen. 60 years earlier, under Tsar Ivan Asen II, Bulgaria had been the dominant power in the Balkans. But Ivan Asen II died in 1241, and what followed was decades of child emperors, palace intrigue, and civil war. Real power drained away from the capital, Tarnovo, and into the hands of local boyars, nobles who ran their own fiefdoms and answered to the capital only when it suited them. Bulgaria bled territory to Hungary in the north and to the Byzantines in the south. Worse, it lost the ability to defend its own people. The Golden Horde, the western branch of the Mongol Empire, treated northeastern Bulgaria like an open pantry. Their riders crossed the Danube almost every year, looting grain, cattle, and people, then vanishing before any army could respond. Bulgaria's ruler for 2 decades, Constantine Tik, was in no position to stop them. Chronic leg pain, possibly a form of paralysis, kept him from personally leading armies. He watched the raids continue year after year while his boyars squabbled over regional power. For the peasants footing the bill in blood and grain, the message was clear. No one in Tarnovo was coming to help them. Into that vacuum stepped Ivaylo. By every account, he was a nobody, a swineherd from the northeast, the region hit hardest by the raids. But he had something the boyars didn't, the trust of the people who were actually dying. Medieval chroniclers say Ivaylo began claiming visions, insisting he'd been chosen for something greater, tasked with delivering Bulgaria from its enemies. Whether or not you believe a prophetic pig farmer, what happened next isn't in dispute. People believed him. In a region full of armed, furious peasants and border militia who'd already been fighting Mongols informally for years, belief was enough to build an army. By 1277, Ivaylo commanded a real fighting force. Not knights in plate armor, but men who knew the terrain, knew how to ambush, and had nothing left to lose. Ivaylo's peasant army did what Constantine Tik's professional one couldn't. It started winning. His forces intercepted and defeated several Mongol raiding parties, driving them back across the Danube. For a population that had watched raiders operate with total impunity for years, this was electric. Word spread fast. Villages that had never heard of Ivaylo were suddenly hearing that a swineherd had beaten the Mongols in open battle. Constantine Tik could no longer ignore him. Late in 1277, the Tsar finally mobilized his own army to crush the rebellion. But his forces moved slowly, hampered by his own physical condition, and Ivaylo struck first. He ambushed the imperial column, cutting down many of the Tsar's closest commanders. What remained of the army didn't retreat. It defected, joining the rebels on the spot. Constantine Tik himself was killed in the fighting, and according to the chronicles, Ivaylo did it personally, striking him down in his own chariot. His justification, as recorded at the time, was almost a verdict. The Tsar had done nothing to defend his honor on the battlefield. By autumn of 1277, the Mongols had been pushed entirely out of Bulgarian territory, something the official Bulgarian army hadn't managed in years. One by one, fortified towns opened their gates to Ivaylo and recognized him as ruler. Only one city held out, the capital Tarnovo, still controlled by the widowed Empress Maria and her young son. Ivaylo laid siege to Tarnovo, and the city eventually came to terms. In a move that reads more like political calculation than romance, he married the widowed Empress Maria Paleologina, tying himself directly to the old imperial line. In 1278, the boyars who had once dismissed him as a dangerous peasant rabble-rouser had no choice but to crown him czar. Sit with how strange that is for medieval Europe. This wasn't a noble seizing power from a rival noble. This was a man who had mucked out pigsties a year earlier, now sitting on an imperial throne, married to a Byzantine-descended empress, commanding the loyalty, however fragile, of the very nobility that despised his class. It didn't take long for the rest of the world to test him. The Byzantine Emperor Michael VIII Palaiologos saw an opportunity in the chaos. He backed a rival claimant, Ivan Asen III, and sent an army to install him on the Bulgarian throne instead. If Ivaylo could be dealt with by Byzantine steel, so much the better for Constantinople. It didn't work. Ivaylo's forces met the Byzantine-backed army and beat it not once but twice. For a jumped-up peasant czar with no royal training, this was a remarkable run. He had now defeated the Mongols, the previous Bulgarian regime, and a Byzantine imperial army, all within about 2 years. But an emperor fighting wars on every border eventually has to leave the capital. That absence would cost him everything. In 1279, Nagai Khan, the powerful Mongol warlord who effectively ruled the Western Golden Horde, moved against Ivaylo directly. Ivaylo was cornered and besieged inside the Danube fortress of Drastar, modern-day Silistra, for roughly 3 months. While their czar was trapped on the frontier, rumors reached Tarnovo that he had died. In a capital already exhausted by 3 straight years of warfare, that rumor was enough to break what little loyalty remained. The boyars who had crowned Ivaylo turned on the regime they had installed in his absence, forced Ivan Asen III to flee, and in early 1280 elected an entirely new czar, George Turdur I, a powerful noble of Cuman descent who could offer the one thing an exhausted country craved above all else: stability without more fighting. Ivaylo escaped the siege at Drastar, but he returned to a country that had already moved on without him. His support was gone, his capital held by a rival, and his peasant army, worn down by years of continuous war, could no longer sustain a fight on multiple fronts. With nowhere else to turn, he did something almost unthinkable. He rode to the camp of Nagai Khan, the very Mongol warlord whose raids had launched his entire uprising, and asked for help reclaiming his throne. It was a desperate gamble from a man who had run out of options. Nagai did not restore him. Sometime around 1281, Ivaylo was murdered in the Mongol camp, killed, by most accounts, on the order of the very warlord he had come to for help.